What if you consumed only Japanese media and content for 7 days straight? Is it beneficial? Have I noticed anything after 7 days? Is it difficult? And how I did that working 60 hours a week. Let's talk about it.
ジャックは私のために日本語の勉強を始めたので、ね、ちょっとやっぱり日本語の勉強を助けたかった、手伝いたかったですね。はい。で、私は大学で建築、アーキテクチャ、建築の勉強をしました。
箸置きもかわいい。アイスキャンディーとかドーナツの箸置き、パンもある。ボサボサ、ボサボサです。ボサボサ。そう、これサンゴ。沖縄に。
So first of all, what is immersion? I think if you're in this space, you probably already know, but a quick definition would be to surround yourself by the language when you're not in the country. So if you don't have access to being and living in the place that you want to learn the language, you have to create an artificial experience that gives you that same benefit. One way to do that is to change all of the media that you consume. So that means YouTube. When you turn on Pandora or other music apps, you would only listen to your native specified, in my case, Japanese music. Listen to Japanese podcasts, preferably things that are in native speed and not dumbed down for language learners. Now, I have dabbled in both, but that's a general gist of immersion. Now, there are two different types of immersion. There's passive immersion and active immersion. You'll hear this talked about a lot. Passive immersion, some people don't like the idea of. They think you need to actively immerse the entire time or it's a waste of time. I'm still new to this, so I'm not going to give my point of view one way or the other. But what I'm doing is, I would say 80 to 90% passive, where I'm just doing things like brushing my teeth, doing the laundry, doing the dishes, tasks that don't require a ton of thought. You want to be listening to, in my opinion, probably the easiest is Japanese podcasts, or Japanese vloggers if you have YouTube available and open to you. And that would be passive immersion. Now, active immersion requires more effort because you need to sit. I mean, probably you could stand, I guess, but you sit, watch Japanese content in the native speed and with essentially content for Japanese people. And you want to listen to this 1 to 2 hours a day as much as possible, but it takes more effort. You're actively watching and listening, trying to absorb the language this way. So what is the main benefit of immersion versus other methods? Your brain is going to naturally start to pick up patterns in the language, which is necessary to hone your listening skills. And then after you do this, then you can add Anki, flashcards, and other grammar points. But if you can start to hear the language, it sort of primes your brain to be able to see patterns easier once you start studying the language on a more, I guess, technical aspect of it. But consuming the language is the fundamental component to getting to those other points. So what are going to be the main challenges of immersion? One, finding time. A lot of people are busy. I try to exercise, lift weights twice a week. And then just like everybody else has, the typical things you have to do. You have to do dishes, you have to do laundry, you have to get a shower, you have to so on and so on. So what I do, as you saw in the short clips that I provided, I try to find the space in between where I can throw in content. So I can immerse. As soon as I get up, I turn on a Japanese podcast. As I'm getting ready for work in the morning, I have that playing in the background. It's not even really in the background, it's in my pocket, so I hear it and I'm listening. As I drive to work, I'm playing the same podcast. There are times throughout my job where I'm able to listen to music or have earphones in, so I will be consuming Japanese podcasts during this time. At lunch, I will do more active immersion where I'm watching vlogs now of Japanese YouTubers. And then again, on the way home from work, in the car, I'm listening to a podcast. Now I get home and I'm still playing that same podcast as I'm going throughout the rest of my night. So when I'm in the shower, I have that podcast playing. When I'm brushing my teeth, and then when I sit down finally for dinner, then I have a half an hour or so block of time where I can consume active immersion. So I'll put on another blogger, YouTube native blogger, and I'll watch that while I eat dinner. And then moving into bedtime routine, continue to have the podcast on after I eat dinner, and then again brush my teeth. I'm listening to the same podcast, and then once I get to bed, then I will try to do my 1 hour to 2 hours, depending on how much time I have left over in my day, of sitting and watching just, a YouTuber or some other Japanese content. And none of this has subtitles. If it does, the subtitles are provided by the YouTuber and they're in Japanese. So key point is no English subtitles. You just want to be focused on listening and watching and trying to see what they're talking about with context clues and learning the sort of sound of the language. Second thing you're going to run into is mental fatigue, burnout. It's difficult to listen to something when you have no idea what is happening. The first couple days were very difficult for me. I'd say even the first 4 days were difficult out of the first 7 days, where it's frustrating because you simply have no idea what's going on. You have to get past this frustration. And the only way I can tell you how to do it is to simply just persevere. I guess just discipline. And I think it's so hard, especially in today's society where things are so immediate with scrolling on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok or whatever you're into. It's hard to have that attention span when things are fed to us in like 10 to 30 second increments. So it is going to be challenging. I would recommend that you just remember the reason why you're trying to learn the language. And that's going to get you past any hurdle of, in the beginning of just not understanding anything. You can also go to trying to input, for example, I use the podcast Bite-Sized Japanese. So the level is very low as far as the Japanese speaking. It's much more easier for beginner level. So you can look out for things like that so you're less frustrated. But in the beginning, it's going to be difficult. So just bear in mind that you're going to have to push through for a little while until it starts to get more comfortable. So what's the biggest takeaway after 7 days of immersion? I suppose the biggest thing I noticed is that I do start to hear particles, and I'm starting to get a flow of the language more so. So for example, hearing the wa particle, o, obviously ka, to indicate a question, but hearing these repeatedly sort of gets your brain used to the pattern of the language. So that's been something that I've noticed. I'm still pretty early on in my Anki flashcard training, but there was one word that I had just practiced previously, and I was watching a Japanese YouTuber and he used that word. So I'll show that video clip here now. So I've been watching this dude for an hour, and I don't think I've understood a word he said, except right now he says sugi ga, and I literally just learned sugi on my Anki deck today. So just wanted to show you that. Sugi ga. Sugi ga. So I would encourage you to start immersing a little bit at a time. You don't have to jump straight into it like I did. But in any of your sort of downtime, whether you're in the car driving to and from work, or taking a shower, using the bathroom, brushing your teeth, try to find slots of time in between your day where you can actively put your language in front of you, whether it's listening or watching or both. I encourage you to start immersing. So if you like this content and you want to learn Japanese with me, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to have more videos coming up in the future. Look out for my next video that I'll be doing about why I finally gave up my over 1,500 day streak on Duolingo. So that'll be it for this video. Thanks for following me along on my language learning journey. I'll see you soon. Mata ne.